Hi, everybody. This is a video to kind of walk you through what we did in class on Monday, August 26th. Okay, a couple announcements. First things first, I need you to go to the folder in Schoology today. You're going to see a PDF that says VARK questionnaire for young people. You're going to need to copy that into GoodNotes into your How the Brain Learns folder. There is also for you, I'm going to go into Schoology because I want to show you. There's also this. This is the VARK scoring card. If you are not in class today, you're going to have to open that up and copy that in there as well. And I'll explain what we're doing here. This is one that it was a paper copy I gave the kids. So I put two copies on the same paper. You will only have to fill out the top part. You don't obviously have to fill out both parts of that. Okay? All right, let me get on to the lesson. And then also, just a note, you're going to have to bring headphones or earbuds this week in school. If you're gone for the whole week, it's no different. You're just going to watch a video. I have to be gone for a meeting on Thursday, and so the kids are going to watch a video lesson. And that is me just giving the lesson for the whole week. So you're going to need that. And then you need it for another activity that we're going to do either Tuesday or Wednesday. Okay. So what is VARK? What's going on? Why are we learning about VARK? Here's what I want you to think about. You have, just in the couple week and a half short little time that we've been together, you have asked your brain to do a lot. You have to learn new math problems or try to recall math problems. You're going to be asked to you have to remember locations and dates and people and events and history. You have to learn grammar. You have to learn, all kinds of science facts, like what are the three types of rock and what are the characteristics of each and where would you find them. In reading, you're going to be reading about different books and characters and plots and summaries and literary devices. You've got to remember what bus you're riding. You have to remember what band music you're playing. You've got to remember your locker combination. You have to remember assignments and make sure that you've put them in Schoology or put them in, is it a hard copy? Is it a paper copy, digital copy? Do I have it in where it's supposed to be? If you're in sports, you have to know the rules of the games. You have to know the plays that you're playing. You have to know the players' names that you're playing with. And oh my goodness, don't forget about your family. You got to remember Aunt Tilly's name. And for heaven's sakes, where does Grandma live? All these things we're asking our brain to remember. And in order to remember something, you have to first take it into your brain. So we're going to be working with a questionnaire today called VARK. And VARK is just a learning styles questionnaire that helps you learn better by suggesting learning strategies that work best for you. Each one of you are uniquely different, and you have different ways that you learn information. You're going to hear me say different ways that you intake information. It means, how do you learn something? What's the best way that you learn? Think of it like this. VARK stands for visual, oral, read, write, and kinesthetic. Visual is with your eyes. Oral, you learn by hearing. Read, write, you learn by reading and writing. Or kinesthetic, meaning you learn by doing. What happens when we learn new information? Our brain takes information and we have to move it from short-term memory to long-term memory. We take information in our brains all the time for short-term memory. I don't know, did you take out the garbage? Remember to take out the garbage. Or like my husband will say, hey, can you pick up some eggs on the way home from school today? Or, just little teeny things that are like every single day we get new information. The difference between intaking information and learning that information is if you are able to use strategies that are unique to you to move that information. And so that's what VARK is all about. You have now in GoodNotes this VARK questionnaire. The questionnaire asks you questions about situations in which you need to intake new information. And you have to read through the 4 different options, choose the best way that you would want to be given the information. Now, you may decide in that particular situation there will be more than one ways that you would use to intake that information. Go ahead and pick 2, but don't pick more than 2. That can kind of tend to screw up your results. Now we're going to go through each question together, and then I'm going to tell you how to score it as we go. So then at the very end, we can make an identification whether your learning strategy is more visual, oral, read, write, or kinesthetic. Now on the tables, the kids had these hard copies. Those of you that are absent today, I've asked you to put this, it's in your Schoology, I've asked you to put that in GoodNotes too. So you're going to have to go back and forth in between GoodNotes. So you may want to do a split screen, or if you can just switch over from GoodNotes from one file to the next, whatever works for you. Okay, here we go. The first question says, a website has a video showing how to make a special graph or chart. There is a person speaking, some lists and words describing what to do, and some diagrams. I would learn most from, and I want you to pick, would you learn most from reading the words, listening, seeing the diagrams, or watching the actions? What would you pay attention to first? Once you've made your selection, I want you to make a note of this, okay? I'm going to tell you that if you selected reading the words, that's an R. That's read write. Listening is oral. Seeing the diagrams is visual. And watching the actions is kinesthetic. So what you're going to do is whatever you chose, whatever answer yours aligns with, you're going to come here to your response worksheet, and you're going to keep track of your answers by putting a little tally mark next to each letter that matched your answer. So if I said, if I'm watching a video that's showing me how to make a graph, and there's a person speaking, and then there's a list, it's like written out and words describing what to do, and then there's actual diagrams, I would learn most by watching the actions of that person creating the diagram. I would also probably look at the diagrams to see what it would look like if it was completed. Like, what is it supposed to look like? So I might choose V and K. If you are an A, or if you're an R, whatever, I'm a V and a K. So I would come here and I would put a tally mark next to the V and next to the K, and then I would continue on. Okay? So after each one, I'm going to tell you what the answers align with, and then you're going to come back here to your thing to keep track of it. And then at the very end, you're going to add up how many you had, how many hashtags you had, or tally marks you had for each one of the learning styles. And then that will help us determine what your preferred learning style is. Okay, let's move on. I prefer a presenter or a teacher who uses handouts, books, or readings, question and answer, talk, group discussion, or guest speakers. Demonstrations, models, practical sessions, labs would go in with that. Diagrams, charts, maps, graphs, scientific diagrams, that would go in with that one. Okay, so if you chose handout, books, or readings, that is a read-write. Question and answer, talking, group discussion, or guest speakers, that's oral. Demonstrations, models, or practical sessions, kinesthetic. And then the diagrams, charts, maps, graphs, that would be visual. Go ahead and mark your tally sheet. And if you need to pause this video at any time, please obviously do that. All right, Next one. After reading a play, I need to do a project. So let's say Mrs. Scanlon has you reading The Diary of Anne Frank, and you have to do a project after. It's an individual, independent project. Which project would you prefer to do? Would you prefer to write about the play? Would you prefer to read a section from the play out loud? Would you prefer to draw or sketch a scene from the play? Or act out a scene from the play? Okay, and here are the learning styles. Go ahead and mark your tally sheet, and let's move on. I need to find a way to a shop that a friend has recommended. So somebody says, hey, you have got to go to this, I don't know, comic store, or there was a great restaurant. You need to go to this restaurant. How would you ask for directions, or how would you figure out how to get to that store? Would you write down the street directions that you need to remember? So what I mean by that is, would you write down, like if your friend said, okay, so from school, you need to go down Platteview Road. And then at the light down on Platteview Road on Highway 50, you're going to turn left. Would you do that? Would you use a map like Google Maps? Would you find out where the shop is in relation to somewhere I know? So if your friend said, oh, you've got to go down to this thing, and you said, well, what's it by? And they said, it's in Springfield over by Casey's. Or would you ask your friend to tell you the directions step by step? You're not going to write anything down. You just want your friend to tell you. Okay, and here are the letters. Okay, go ahead and hit your tally mark. Next one. I want to learn to do something new on a computer. I would start using it and learn by trial and error. You would just jump in and get started. Would you talk to somebody that has it and kind of ask them, like, what's a good way to get started with this? Or what do I need to do before I get started? How do I do it? Would you open up the booklet and follow the diagrams? So you're looking just at the diagrams, pictures, the drawings that are in the manual, or if they're online? Or would you open up that manual and read the directions, the written instructions? Okay, here are your letters. Okay, make sure you're writing this down on your tally sheet. We'll move on. There are 16 questions, by the way, so not too many. When I am learning, I see a pattern in things. I read books, articles, and handouts. I use examples and applications. I like to talk things through. Okay, here are your letters. Okay, make sure that you're writing down your hash mark, and let's move on. I want to find out more about a tour that I'm going on. Pretend like you're going on vacation. You want to find out more about that vacation. Would you use a map to see where the places are? So where do you want to go? If you're going to Hawaii and you know you're staying in this one little area, would you use like Google Maps and get in there and find out, okay, this is where our hotel is, what kinds of things are around our hotel? Would you read about the vacation on the itinerary that they're giving you? So on day 1, this is what you're doing. On day 2, this is what you're doing. Would you go to YouTube and watch videos to see if there are anything around, if there's anything around there that you'd like to do? Or would you talk to a person who planned the tour, asking questions and getting feedback verbally? Or maybe you would talk to somebody who'd already been on that vacation, who had been on that tour. Okay, here are your answers. Go ahead and write your tally mark. I want to learn how to play a new board game or card game. I would use the diagrams that explain the various stages, moves, and strategies in the game. So you're just looking at pictures. Typically, like on a board game or like a card game, if you go online, you can find diagrams like that put all the pieces on a board or lays cards out in a certain way. Would you look at those diagrams? Would you listen to somebody explain it and ask questions? So this is not you playing the game. You're just listening to somebody describe how to play the game. Would you look at the directions and read the instructions? Or would you watch others play the game before joining in? Okay, here are your letters. All right, go ahead and make sure that you mark your tally mark. And we'll move on to the next one. Okay, so you've got a problem with your knee. You go to the doctor. The doctor's going to tell you what's going on with your knee. Some of you guys have been to the doctor. Maybe you had a broken arm or a broken, leg or dislocated shoulder or whatever. How would you prefer that the doctor explain what's going on with you? Would you like the doctor to give you something to read? Like, you know how they have those pamphlets in the office? So that you're reading and explaining what happened? Would you want the doctor to show you a diagram of what's going on wrong? Maybe draw a picture on a piece of paper and kind of explain with a diagram what's going on. Would you want the doctor to pull out one of those plastic models and kind of show you on the model what was going on? Or would you just want the doctor just to explain to you what's going on? Here are your letters. Go ahead and mark your tally mark. Hopefully you're kind of starting to see a pattern of what different types of learners prefer. And it's okay if you're like, sometimes I'm a visual and sometimes I'm read write. That's okay. It's okay. Just what is your first knee jerk, like, this is what I want to happen, or this is how I want to intake information. Okay, next one. I want to find out about a house or an apartment. So let's pretend that you're getting ready to move out. You're going to go to college and you need to find a place to live. Before you actually go, so let's say that you're going to school in Lincoln, before you actually get in the car and go and look at it, how would you want to get information about this place? Would you want a printed description of the rooms and the features? Would you want to talk to the owner of the apartment, or maybe talk to somebody who has lived there and ask questions, not only about the apartment and the layout, but like, what are some benefits? Are there amenities there? Is there a weight room? Would you want to talk to somebody? Would you want to look at a plan showing the rooms and a map of the area? So you're looking at a drawing or a computer rendering of the layout of the rooms, where the living room is, where the kitchen is, where the dining room, whatever. And then also kind of a map of the surrounding area, so you know what kind of stores are there. Or would you want somebody to just record, like if you could go online and you could click a video recording of like a tour of the apartment and maybe a tour of the lands and what's going on around, like a video of the property. Okay, here are your letters. And you're going to remember your hashtag, your little tally mark. Okay. When learning from the internet, I like interesting design and visual features. When you're on a website for the first time, you're learning something from a teacher, or you're learning something like, if you have to do some online learning, do you want a website that has interesting design and visual features? Do you want audio channels so you can listen to podcasts or interviews? Do you like to read interesting descriptions, lists, explanations, news articles? Or do you like videos showing how to do or make things? Okay, here are your letters. Make sure you hit that tally mark. I want to suggest fundraising options for a sports team. So you're on a team, you guys need to, let's say, you know what, not even sports team. Let's say you're in DI and you guys want to go to nationals. Okay, you need to fundraise for that. What would you do for fundraising? What would be your knee jerk, like, this is how I want to fundraise? Would you list details about different options? So as you guys are talking together, or I'm sorry, as you all are trying to brainstorm individually, would you just start making a list for yourself about the different things that you could do? Would you compare graphs of different fundraising options? So maybe there's a graph that says, hey, if you sell this much, this is how much profit you make versus this much. This is like a graph would help you see that. Would you talk to other people who have been involved in fundraising and ask them, what have you guys done? Or would you focus on fundraising options that you know will work? Maybe you've had past experience. Okay, here are your letters. Go ahead and mark your tally mark. I think we just have a couple more left. I want to learn how to take better photos. I would use examples of good and poor photos showing how to improve them. So you're looking at, hey, this is a good one, this is a bad one. Now, in order to do that, make this bad one as good as that good one, this is what you would do. Would you want to work with a person that you could ask questions and talk about how to achieve interesting effects? Would you want to maybe check out a book and read written instructions about how to accomplish what you wanted to do? Or would you use diagrams showing how different camera settings work? So in like the manual, you would look and go, okay, if I wanted to have this, this is what I would have to do. But it's like a diagram that shows you the different buttons on the camera. What would you choose? Okay, here are your letters. Make sure that you mark your tally mark. We'll move on. Ooh, this one's kind of blurry. Sorry. I want to assemble a wooden table that came in parts. Like you went to IKEA, you got a table. It's not put together. You have to put it together. How would you learn best to assemble it? Do you want to just, before you even begin, you're going to go on YouTube and you're going to find a video of a person that assembled a similar table and you're going to watch them do it and then you're going to do it? Would you ask advice from someone who has done it before? So let's say your mom put one together and you're like, okay, mom, what do I do? And then mom helps you out, tells you. Would you want to look at the diagrams that come with the table? And just based on the diagrams alone, you're going to just kind of put together each stage. Or do you want to rely only on the written directions or written instructions that came with the parts for the table? Okay, here are your letters. All right, go ahead and put a tally mark there. Okay, I'm going to apologize right now. My dog came over and laid down by me. So if you hear something weird, that's her. Okay, make sure that you mark your hashtags or your tally marks. And I've finished a competition or a test and I would like some feedback. I would like to have the following feedback given to you in a certain kind of way. So a competition or a test, let's just pick a test. So you've had a test, right? You don't want just the grade. You want to know how you did, why you missed what you missed, maybe why you did really well on one thing and not another thing. Would you want somebody to explain your feedback from someone who talks it through with me? So would you like to talk to Mrs. Clayton? You want to talk to me and let me go through and kind of give you some feedback? Do you want examples from what you have done in the past? Go back and look at your notes and look at the examples. Do you want a written description of your results? Or do you want to use graphs to look at your results? That's something that we do in Amplify. So I can show you like on your pre-unit assessment, mid-unit assessment, and your end of the unit assessment, there's like a bar graph that shows you how well you did. Okay, go ahead and take a look at the letters. Mark your tally mark. And we'll move on. When choosing my subjects to study, these are important for me. You guys don't really get a chance to choose your subjects that you get to study yet. You do a little bit more when you get into high school, for sure when you get into college. When you are trying to think about the classes that you want to take, do you want to take a class in which you will be taught how to use words well in written communication? Will you be, that first one is like teaching you how to write papers so that you're being understood what you're saying. The second one would be communicating with others through discussion. So it might be a speech class, or it might be like a small group discussion class where you're collaborating with other people, and it's focused more on discussion, questions, answers. Are you interested in classes where you can apply your knowledge in real situations? Like maybe some pre-med classes, or what's another one? Like a business class. Would you want to do an internship where you leave school and you actually, like, you're performing the job? Or would you want to work with designs, maps, charts? Okay, here are the letters. And go ahead and mark your tally mark. And I think that's it. So now you should have all the tally marks next to all the letters. So VARK. Take a second right now, and I want you to tally total how many you have V, how many A's you had, how many R's you had, and how many K's you had. Okay, and go ahead and write those numbers on that line after it says total. And then I am going to ask you to take a picture of this. Well, that's not, you don't have to do that. Go ahead and submit this. There will be a homework folder for you to put this in. And then I'm going to help you understand like how to interpret the results so you know what your preferred learning style is. And when you come back to class, then I'll go over it with you, make sure. So then what we're going to do the next couple of days is I'm going to have you all practice different strategies for the type of learner that you are. And then throughout the entire year, I constantly talk to you guys about, all right, if you're a visual learner, this is how you're going to want to intake the information. Or if you're a read writer, this is a really good strategy for you to remember this information. All year long, I'll do that. So this is a really important thing. If you have any questions about anything that you answered, or you're not really quite ready to give me your tallies yet because you've got questions about how you would intake the information, you can send me an email or just talk to me when you get back. All right, I will talk to you later, guys. Bye.